We turn to Senator John Thune. Sir, thank you for coming on the set. Thank you for letting me riff a little, get stuff off my chest.
Well, I always enjoy your riffs, so please proceed.
No, now we go to you. You've got the political weight and standing, and you're heading the cavalry that's going to take over Fort Senate before too long. Just a quick comment. We don't know anything from Biden's press conference. Soon we do. It'll be in my ear, and I'll get it out to you.
Right.
But what's your quick thought on this Putin-Ukraine business?
Well, you're right. I mean, I think that it's a very reactive position the administration's been in, and these are things that you're talking about that they're currently talking about doing are things they should have done a long time ago. But they need to, I think, they keep saying, well, we're going to wait until he invades, and then we'll slap sanctions. Why would you do that? Why not act and use it as a deterrent and give them an incentive to get out of the way? Give them an off-ramp if you don't do this. But the primary sanctions would hit them. The secondary sanctions would hit them really hard. And some of these financial sanctions that could be imposed could impose a real consequence to bad behavior. And I think if he knew what the stakes were going in, he might not go in. And right now, we should do everything we can to try and deter that.
One thing I heard, Senator, just before I came on, in the press room of the White House, once again, they said they have ruled out any sanctions on the SWIFT international banking transaction system, which is essentially 90% dollar-based.
Right.
So I think of myself, I mean, look, you know, I had a job in there once upon a time. I sat through NASC. Even if you weren't going to do it, why would you say you're not going to do it? Doesn't that take the pressure off Putin? Yeah,
and I don't think you ever tell a guy like Putin what you're not going to do.
Right.
I mean, I don't think you ever do that.
Right.
And those sanctions, honestly, would be incredibly crushing to their economy. And I think that ought to be on the table. And I don't think you take any options off the table, really, at this point. This is historic, what we're talking about. Huge ramifications, not just for the immediate region, but globally. And the world is watching.
So now to move on, it's related to this, of course, the whole oil and natural gas story. You're from a natural resource part of the country. They are doing everything they can. It is a fossil fuel jihad, best I can tell, at a time when we need more oil and more natural gas for economic and national security reasons. The latest one is this FERC business. You may not have studied up, but it was a story in the Journal today, and the Democrat regulator is now going to layer on new climate reviews and regulations. So, you know, you may not ever build a pipeline again.
Right. Well, what's really problematic with that is, and you pointed it out, you know, to me, how do you explain to the average American that your first day in office, you shut down the Keystone XL pipeline, which brings energy from a friend, Canada, and gets it to places we need it in the United States, but when it comes to Nord Stream 2, you waive sanctions. So you basically condone the Putin pipeline and kill American energy production. But it's permeated everything. I mean, you mentioned it. The pressure, if they embed this whole philosophy even when they nominate people to the Federal Reserve. So the Raskin nomination now, you got somebody who's talking about an eco agenda and you know, allocating capital based upon this sort of ESG criteria, which the street now is using because of these, you know, provisions and requirements. Proposals coming out of the White House. It's crazy stuff.
This is I don't want to let it go by. Look, I've known Larry Fink for a very long time, okay? He's not a bad person, not an evil person. I think he's a mistaken person. He and a group of these guys that control trillions of dollars of index funds, right? They are pushing everything against fossil fuels. But at the same time, Senator, they're also trying to move them towards China, okay? I'm not sure which is worse. They're both equally bad. China has the worst accounting standards. There's no investor protection, runs into the military. The Chinese Communist Party runs it. It's a state-run economy. But they're killing our fossil fuels without evidence, without real science. We're going to have Steve Kudlow on later in the show once again. I mean, this is a very bad trend, and you're right. Biden is cheering it on.
Well, and you said FERC, good place. I mean, huge regulatory burdens on domestic development, killing projects, killing pipelines, taking areas out of production. We were, in your time, energy independent. We were actually exporting energy for the first time ever. Now we're going hat in hand to Putin, to the Saudis, to OPEC, and saying, please produce more so you can help fuel our economy. This stuff is crazy. And right now, I mean, maybe you're an electric vehicle guy, I don't know, but they're obsessed with electric vehicles to the exclusion of everything else, knowing full well that it's going to be a long time before that transition happens. And in the meantime, we're going to have to rely on liquid fuels, all of which are available here in the United States. But now you got gas 40% higher than it was a year ago. And frankly, what's driving inflation more than anything else is fuel. I mean, it's in everything. It's in the cost of stuff in the grocery store. And we have a solution. This was so avoidable. And so now what they're talking about is, well, let's waive the gas tax, 18 cents, 18.4 cents per gallon temporarily. Like, that's going to solve the problem. The problem is more supply to meet the demand.
That's right.
And the supply's right here.
By the way, I'm into electric cars if my friend Elon Musk builds them in a non-union shop.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, that too. That's the other thing. Yeah.
And they don't invite him to the White House.
Yeah, I'm sure.
They invite GM and Ford and Chrysler, but they will not invite Elon because he has some union, but mostly non-union shops.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful story. They're using the SEC, again, in the jihad against fossil fuels. So it's now FERC, SEC, Fed, God knows what else is coming. This is the thing that's worth dwelling on. I mean, as you say, oil is so essential to our economy. We're not going to replace it with renewable fuels for 50 or 100 years, if ever.
Yeah.
This is exactly the wrong moment in history to wage this jihad. That's the part that
it is.
And here's the Putin-Ukraine thing illustrates that.
Yeah.
Right? Part of that is because we gave him Nord Stream in the first place.
Yep. And it's so poorly timed. And you talked about these index funds. They're voting the shares of a lot of shareholders, stockholders across the country, and they're imposing these requirements on boards and CEOs and everybody else. If you don't invest in these areas, or if you make loans here, we're going to vote you out. I mean, this stuff it's everywhere now, and that's really should be concerning. And the reason why I think in the middle of America, where people are actually having to pay the bills for this, there's a political revolt building. I mean, I think the country is realizing that how far out of the mainstream and how radical this agenda is, and what it means in terms of additional costs. So you look at the average American family from year over year, since January of last year to this year, $3,500 more out of their pockets just to pay for the things that they have to, need to survive. That is a tax on everyone. And it hits lower income and middle income families the hardest.
So the cavalry's coming. The story today in the Wall Street Journal, the news story, was the State of the Union speech. Inflation is going to be a very important topic. And I keep sort of wondering what exactly he's going to do. I've seen various bits and pieces freeze drug company prices or force them down, corporate greed, antitrust against colluding companies, like gas stations around the corner. Nobody talks about excessive federal spending or Federal Reserve money printing. They talk about going after business. It's always business that's wrong, Senator Thune.
Right, and I think the American people have figured out the Democrat rhetoric on this is all going to be, and his speech will all be about, corporate greed, et cetera. But what he's not going to talk about is the $2 trillion they pushed out there last year under the guise of COVID relief, only about 15% of which was even remotely related to that. It was all growing government. It was more spending, flooding the zone with more dollars, chasing fewer goods, leading to inflation. And their remedy for that? More spending, another $5 trillion. I don't know how you can ever justify, I mean, the textbook definition of inflation is too many dollars chasing too few goods. So it's about spending. The taxes they want to impose all get passed on. The regulations make it more expensive and more difficult to create jobs in this country. Those are the things the president ought to talk about if he cares about inflation. But you're right. I mean, it's going to be all rhetoric that's sort of trying to create a scapegoat for an administration that could have solved this on their own. And the energy issue was totally avoidable. I mean, these are direct results of policy decisions these guys made when they came into office, and the American people are paying the price. And no amount of rhetoric in his State of the Union speech is going to be able to disguise that.
I know. You look at the polls. I mean, I've never seen polls plunge faster and deeper than I have. People basically don't agree with any part of his agenda right now.
Yeah.
By the way, I didn't want to lose this thought. We need another $30 billion for COVID assistance?
No.
Badly?
No, I mean...
You sure? Really? We don't actually need $30 billion?
I mean, on top, isn't $8 trillion enough? Where's that line? And there are dollars out there, and the states are sitting on money, You know, I mean, these states are flush. It'd be a great time to be a governor because you could be Santa Claus right now. And no, there's plenty of money out there. And so the idea that, and again, trying to do it under the guise of COVID, which is what the Democrats do for everything. And I've been around for a long time. And when they're in power, they spend money, they grow government, they raise taxes, they impose heavy-handed regulations on business, and it's just, you know, that's what you get. You get what we got right now,
you know,
inflation.
Newt Gingrich is right. 6 months ago, he was emailing me one night. It's big government socialism. I mean, it really is.
It is.
I mean,
there's no way around it. And honestly, I mean, there may be a handful of Democrats who don't see it this way. But most of their party right now, the center of gravity is on the far left. That's true in the Senate. And their economic policies, their national security policies, their energy policies, their immigration policies, their crime policies, all reflect a philosophy and a worldview that is very separate from the majority of Americans in mainstream America. And and they're getting a chance to implement it, and people are getting a chance to see the results, and they aren't liking them.
So the good news is, as you said, there's a populist revolt, particularly in Middle America, against all this stuff. The cavalry's coming. How many Republican seats will we pick up in the election? We go to 52, 54, 56?
I think it'd be great. Because, you know, more is better.
What do you think, actually?
Well, you know, I mean, I think right now the environment is good. We got primaries, so we don't know who our nominees are going to be in some cases yet. But we surely ought to be able to flip it. And, you know, whether that's 1, 3, somewhere in that range, all it takes is one and we're back in the majority. And we can set the agenda and we can block a lot of this stuff and be a check and balance against what has become a very radical administration. And their leadership in Congress is in the same place. I mean, philosophically, these are people who genuinely believe that government knows best. And people across the country are tired of having Washington, D.C. tell them how to live their lives. And that's a basic American principle of organizing their lives. They organize their lives around freedom. That's not what the left believes. The left likes the nanny state, but that's
I love that, organizing their lives around freedom. I love that. It's great. Stay with it.
All right.
Senator John Thune, thank you, sir. By the way,
Larry.
You are our first U.S. Senator on set.
Well, congratulations on the success of the show. I know I've done this from you remotely.
Yes, you have.
Remotely, but
We
it's
are
great
grateful
to be here.
to you.
Thank you.
It's been terrific.
Good to be with you.